I guess I'm right. Everyone likes a good top 3 list, right? Right? So I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do this list because I wasn't sure if I played that many games in 2016. But after listening to a couple Game of the Year stuff, Game Awards stuff, I actually found out I played a lot of good games in 2016. Who knew? So 2 things I want to get out of the way before we get to the list is, 1, this is my personal list. This isn't me saying these should be Game of the Year or everyone should have these games in their list. These are just games that I liked a lot. There's a good chance I'll go back and play. And more importantly, I'll probably talk about them in the future. The second thing is, I'm going to try to be as vague as possible when it comes to story elements. That way I don't spoil you guys, just in case there's a game you haven't played on my list that you were looking forward to playing in the future. So let's start the list with, of course, number 4. Number 4, or honorable mention if you prefer, is Uncharted 4. Yes, Uncharted 4 is very pretty graphically, and the story is probably the best one in the series. But I do have a small problem with Uncharted 4. And that's, I kind of got tired of killing dudes in this game, which is a really weird thing to say for a third-person shooter. The fact that I got tired of shooting people towards the end of that game, to a point where if it wasn't for the story, I don't think I would have completed the game. But that's the reason this game is on my list. It's because of the story, or I should say, the ending. Now, it's not... Most of the Uncharted games had a satisfactory ending to them. Like, if, for whatever reason, Naughty Dog was like, yeah, Uncharted 3 was the last Uncharted game. We're never making any more. We would be disappointed, but we'd be like, oh, well, at least the ending is good enough. You know, that's the ending to the series. But with Uncharted 4, this really does feel like the ending to... Well, I was going to say Uncharted, but they're making more Uncharted games. But it's an ending to Nathan Drake's story. Throughout the games, we finally now know Drake's motivations, what Drake was like from childhood, teenage life, to young adult, of course. And in this game, we find out what happens with his marriage, with his family life, with his adventuring life. It's just a really good end, to the point where if Naughty Dog were to make another Uncharted game with Nathan Drake as the main character, I would say that would be a huge mistake. Like, that's how good of an ending I think this is. I'm now happy with Drake's ending. But who knows? Naughty Dog has surprised me before.
Hello, Two Forks Tower.
Number 3 goes to Firewatch. Now, I did a review for the game that probably goes into more details why I like it. Maybe not. Wasn't that great a video. But in summary, I really like how the game looked, its art style. I really like that it was an outdoor setting. I really love the characters and their voice acting. And I really like the little details it did, like bringing up past decisions or past actions I did while talking between the two characters. And I even like the story. Now, the ending gets a little messy trying to answer all the questions it presents, but it's still good enough to not ruin the experience. But the main reason this game is on my list is because it made me cry. Now, I'm not gonna, sit here and tell you I'm a big old manly man who never cries. I cry a lot. But the thing with Firewatch is, this is the first game that made me cry. No other game has ever done that. And it was even a shock to me at the moment. Because the credits was going and, I was just like, oh, this game feels a little emotional. But in the same way, like, if a friend texted you, like, a joke and you said LOL, you're not really laughing out loud. You're pretty much just telling the other person, oh, there's this bit of humor in the thing you just said. That's kind of how I said this game is slightly emotional. And then in the credit sequence, the last photo shows up, and my heart tightened up. But again, I was still a functioning human being. I get up from my computer after the credit sequence, takes 2 steps away, and I fall to my knees, no longer able to carry my heart, and my eyes I could not see because it was filled with tears. Like, I'll admit, the thing that really made me cry was more of a personal thing. Not everyone who plays Firewatch is gonna end up an emotional mess like I was the night I finished that game. But still, I like that this game could bring out these emotions from me. And I really hope this isn't the last game that does it to me, because I don't know, it's an interesting experience to just be taken, just to have so much emotions take over you. But yeah, that's the main reason this game is number 3 on my list. It also helps it's a really good game. You should probably play Firewatch. What are you doing?
Hold it right there.
Help him.
Where the fuck am I go?
Josh! Okay.
Number 2 goes to Watch Dogs 2. Now, I did not like Watch Dogs 1. I did not care for the main character. I did not care for the story. I thought it was trying to be dark just to be dark, which is never a good thing. And there's another reason I didn't like that game. Oh, the side characters, they're pretty forgettable. And Watch Dogs 2 is like the complete opposite of Watch Dogs 1. The story and the city it takes place in, San Francisco, is bright and fun. The main character, Marcus, is a fun, lovable guy to the point where if you don't like Marcus, we can't be friends. The supporting cast, Wrench, Sintara, Josh, Horatio, they're all memorable. They're all fun. They bounce well with Marcus. Like, it's almost a little hard. If you didn't see the names of these games, you maybe wouldn't be able to tell they came from the same series. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. The gameplay mechanics are pretty much mostly the same. Watch Dogs 2 adds what are those things? The flying things called? Things we bomb people with. And RC car. A drone. It comes with a drone. But it's just so, it feels so different from the original game. There are only like 2 things I have a problem with Watch Dogs 2. 1, the mission structure always feels the same. You try to sneak into a place with Marcus, you find a computer, you hack the computer, you have to stay near the computer to download files, and then you have to, there's some secondary thing you have to do, flip a switch or something, and then you have to escape away from the building. And every mission just feels like that. And maybe it's because I mainlined the main story mission at some point, but still, you shouldn't be feeling like that. The second thing it did, again, no spoilers, but at some point in the story, it just feels like the game drops the ball. Like, the story event doesn't feel like it needs to be there. It doesn't really add anything to the story. And it's the biggest damning thing is that the game, after that story event, the game never picks the ball back up. It at best just kicks the ball to the end of the game. And I don't know, it feels very frustrating, especially when you go, why is this here? It just doesn't feel like it adds anything to the rest of the game. But other than those two things, Watch Dogs 2 is a good game. In fact, it's now my example of what a solid 4 out of 5 is. It is a good game with 2 to 3 things that stop it from being really great. And finally, number 1 game for me was Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. Now, let's just get this out of the way. I'm just a big Digimon fan. I mean, let's look at this. So these are 3 pictures of just art from promotional art for the new Digimon movie. This came in a loot box that I bought only because it said it was going to have a Digimon item. And then I bought a $50 frame to frame these pictures and put them on my wall. Do you know who does that? An unhinged person. A fan. I should go see a therapist. So I'm not saying you need to be a fan of Digimon to enjoy Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, but I will say it enhances it. I love seeing my favorite Digimon in HD graphics. I liked seeing their special move be animated. I even liked seeing the Digivolution trees for the Digimon, seeing like what they can Digivolve to. Like, that's how much of a fan I am of the series. But for the stuff that I think anyone can enjoy, I think the story's pretty good. It takes, it kind of assumes you don't know much about Digimon, but still does a good enough wink and nudge to the people who do know about Digimon. I think the characters in the game are pretty fun and memorable. They're definitely like tropes of anime, like intensified, I feel. But I don't know. I still like them. There's also this B story in the game about this occult club, the supernatural club, that you help them solve like these supernatural mysteries happening in the city. It felt weird, but it didn't feel off-putting from the game, and more importantly, it helped break up the main story and allow the main story to breathe a little bit, which it definitely needed. Probably my biggest complaint of the game is its localization. So this actually doesn't bother me, but all the voice acting, it's the original Japanese voice acting in Japanese, of course. There's no English dub of it. Again, this doesn't bother me, but I know it can bother some people. And but the text translation for the main story, it's okay. There was a couple of times when I had to reread a sentence because it was phrased a bit oddly. But the side quest parts of the game definitely felt like it had a different translation team that got paid less and knew they got paid less. But the main story was fine, and I think that's what counts. And there are 2 other reasons other than I'm a Digimon fan that I really like this game. First of all, I quit my job at one point, and it was a job I won't say I didn't like, but I definitely didn't want to do it for the rest of my life. And this game was just a nice comfort, after having these set days and these set hours where I had to go do something, and instead I was able to play Cyber Sleuth, and that was fun. The second reason, for a while there, Digimon games were not coming over to the West. They were making Digimon games, and they were making some good Digimon games in Japan, but they stayed in Japan because they realized if they translated it and brought it over to the West, it wouldn't sell enough to pay for the translation, which makes sense. But there was these petitions and these fans telling Namco hey, we want a Digimon game. And I guess Namco decided to take the risk. They did the bare minimum for translation for Cyber Sleuth, brought it over to the West, and crossed their fingers, I guess. And I'm assuming it did well, because at the end of the month, we're going to have a new Digimon game. And I can't wait to play it, even though I think I might not like it. But I want more Digimon games to come over to the West. I hope more do. So that was my top 3 of 2016. What was yours? Oh, right, this is a camera. This is one way, isn't it? Okay, well, what you can do is, you know what? You'll find a way to tell me. You're a smart, clever person. But I hope you guys have a good year, both in video games and in life in general. And I'm now going to put this picture frame back on my wall and think about my life a little bit. But before I do that, thanks for watching, really. You guys have a good day. No, that's bad. No, that's bad. That might be good. Good? Yeah, sure, why not? Night, guys.